All right, so we are diving deep today into fitness,
Oh, yeah.
and we're going to be pulling some great insights from the Mind Expedition podcast.
Okay.
And really, the mission is to kind of bust some of those common fitness myths,
Yes.
get some practical tips, for staying motivated and consistent with working out,
Love it.
and leave everybody feeling a little bit more confident about their own fitness journey.
Let's do it.
I think that sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
So one of the big ones that I think we all have heard and that Mind Expedition really kind of tackles is this idea of no pain, no gain.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a classic.
It's a classic for sure.
Yeah.
And but they have some good reasons to challenge that idea.
They do, and for good reason. While it's normal to experience some soreness after a tough workout,
Right.
actual pain, that's a sign that something's wrong.
Yeah.
It's like a big red flag from your body saying, hey, pay attention, something's not right here.
Yeah.
And if you push through it and ignore those pain signals,
Yeah.
you could end up with a really serious injury.
Oh, totally.
So it's kind of like, think about this. If you were running a marathon and you sprained your ankle, would you just keep going?
Oh, God, no.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So the same principle applies to any workout.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. I think that makes it so clear.
Yeah.
Listen to your body, work with it, not against it.
Exactly. And the key is consistency over time.
Yeah.
Gradually increasing the intensity of your workouts is a much safer
Right.
and more effective approach than trying to just brute force through the pain and risk getting injured.
Yeah, for sure. And that actually brings us to another one of those kind of myths or misconceptions that's out there.
Okay.
This idea that, longer workouts are always better. And
Yeah.
Mind Expedition actually suggests that quality trumps quantity when it comes to exercise.
Absolutely. They really emphasize the importance of having focused, efficient workouts. You can get incredible results in just 30 to 45 minutes if you're really pushing yourself and, working those muscles effectively.
So no more slogging away on the treadmill for like an hour.
Yeah, right.
Or, 2 hours.
No more of that.
That's music to my ears.
I know. It's great news.
It is? Yeah.
And one of the most effective ways to do this is through HIET. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of HIIT.
High-intensity interval training.
Okay. Yeah.
It involves alternating between these short bursts of really intense exercise and then brief recovery periods. And what's really fascinating about HI is that it not only just torches calories during the workout,
Yeah.
but it also continues to burn calories even after your workout is finished.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a supercharged metabolism booster.
Sign me up.
I know, right?
Yeah. I'm ready for some HIIT workouts.
I think you'd love them. There are so many variations you can try,
Cool.
and they're great for, fitting in a quick but effective workout when you're short on time.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
I want to bust another myth if we're ready for that.
Hit me. All right. So this one is about spot reduction.
Yeah.
And this is something I know I have personally struggled with in the past.
Yeah.
Like doing endless crunches, thinking that I could magically just melt away belly fat.
Ah, yes. The elusive spot reduction myth. It's
Yeah.
so common. It's a misconception that a lot of people have,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, it's just not how our bodies work. Fat loss, it happens throughout the entire body, not just in specific areas we target with exercises.
Okay. So I can't just crunch my way to a six-pack then.
I wish it were that easy, but no,
Yeah.
it's not.
So what does work?
Well, it's really a combination of factors. Nutrition plays a huge role.
Okay.
You can't really out-exercise a poor diet.
Right.
It's all about creating a calorie deficit
Yeah.
by burning more calories than you consume.
That makes sense.
And I know the Mind Expedition folks are big, and the more muscle you have, the higher your metabolism,
Oh,
which means you'll be burning more calories even at rest,
really?
which is a huge win for fat loss.
So it's like a double whammy. You're building muscle and boosting your metabolism at the same time.
At the same time.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is already changing my whole perspective on exercise.
Yeah.
I'm starting to see how it's all about working smarter, not necessarily harder.
Exactly. And speaking of working smarter, the Mind Expedition podcast had a fantastic tip of the day
Okay.
that I think is super relevant here, and that's the concept of progressive overload.
Okay. Now that sounds intense.
I know it sounds a little intimidating,
Little bit? Yeah.
but it's actually a pretty simple concept.
Okay.
It's all about gradually increasing the demands that you place on your muscles over time. So if you're always lifting the same weights or doing the same number of reps,
Right.
your body kind of adapts and stops making progress. So to keep building strength and seeing those results, you need to challenge those muscles just a little bit more each time.
Okay, so it's like constantly raising the bar for yourself, but doing it gradually
Exactly.
so you don't get injured?
Exactly. And there's so many ways to do this.
Whew.
You can increase the weight you're lifting,
Right.
add an extra set or rep,
Okay.
decrease your rest periods,
Wow.
or even just slow down the tempo of your movements to increase the time under tension.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It's like a whole toolbox of
It's a-
strategies to keep those muscles guessing
Exactly. Keep them on their toes.
and prevent them from getting too comfortable.
Exactly. And one thing I find fascinating about progressive overload is that it applies to pretty much any type of exercise,
Oh.
not just weightlifting.
Wow.
You could apply it to running, swimming, yoga, really anything where you're pushing your body to improve.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
It's a universal principle for fitness growth. It's all about pushing your boundaries just a little bit at a time,
Yeah.
being consistent with your training,
Yeah,
and giving your body the time it needs to recover and adapt.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've laid some good groundwork here.
Yeah, we have.
I'm excited to dive into more
I agree.
of these insights in the next part.
Awesome.
But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break,
Sounds good.
and we'll be right back.
All right. See you in a bit.
All right, so we tackled some major fitness myths,
We did.
and we dove into the power of progressive overload.
Yeah.
Now I want to shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about something that I think we all struggle with at some point or another,
Okay.
which is staying motivated and consistent
Yes.
with our workouts.
Definitely one of the biggest hurdles in the fitness journey.
Total.
You can have all the knowledge in the world and the best workout plan,
Right.
but if you can't stick with it consistently,
Right.
it's not going to do you much good.
So true. And I really appreciate how the Mind Expedition podcast really emphasizes self-compassion in this area.
Hmm.
You know, they talk about how missing a workout or, indulging in a treat every now and then
Right.
doesn't mean you've completely derailed your progress.
Yeah, that's such a crucial point. It's so easy to fall into that all or nothing mentality. Where
Yeah.
one slip up makes you feel like you failed
Right.
and you might as well just give up completely.
Yeah.
But the truth is, fitness is a journey. It's not a destination.
Hmm.
And there will always be ups and downs along the way.
Totally. And I love that mantra they shared.
What was that?
Don't let one bad day turn into a bad week.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a simple reminder, but so powerful
Yeah, I love that.
to not beat ourselves up over those little setbacks
Right.
and just focus on getting back on track.
It's a great mindset to have. It's about building those healthy habits over time,
Yeah.
not striving for perfection, which,
Yeah.
let's face it, can be unsustainable
Right.
and can lead to burnout.
For sure. Speaking of building healthy habits, I remember a listener question from the podcast that really resonated with me.
Oh, yeah?
They asked, what's the best way to stay consistent with a fitness routine?
Good question.
And the podcast hosts had some really practical advice.
Okay. I'm curious to hear their tips.
So one of the things they emphasized
Mhm.
was the importance of setting realistic goals
Right.
instead of trying to go from like 0 to 60 overnight.
Yeah.
It's much more sustainable to start small
Right?
and gradually increase the intensity and the frequency of your workouts as you go.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's about finding what you can comfortably manage in your current lifestyle
Right.
and building from there,
Yeah.
like laying a strong foundation for that long-term success.
I like that analogy.
Thanks.
Okay, so another key tip that they shared
Yeah.
was to find activities that you actually enjoy.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Because if you dread your workouts, you're way less likely to stick with them. So it's all about experimenting and finding what gets you moving and feeling good.
Right. It's like that saying, find something you love and you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
It applies to fitness, too.
Totally. And they gave some good examples.
Oh, yeah, like dancing.
Dancing, swimming, hiking, even just playing with your kids at the park.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a traditional gym workout to be beneficial.
I think what's fascinating is that it's not just about the physical benefits of these activities.
Mm-hmm.
It's also about the mental and emotional boost that you get from doing something you enjoy.
Yeah.
When you find that joy in movement, it becomes a positive reinforcement
Yeah.
that makes you want to keep coming back for more.
Right. It's a much more sustainable approach
Yeah.
than forcing yourself to do something you hate just because you think you should.
I agree, absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of sustainability,
Yes.
one of the strategies that the podcast host shared that really resonated with me is this idea of habit stacking.
Oh, yes. Habit stacking. I love habit stacking.
Have you tried that?
I have. It's been a game changer for me in
Yeah.
terms of building new habits, and
Yeah.
I think it can be especially useful for fitting in those workouts.
Can you remind us how habit stacking works?
Sure, it's basically about linking a new habit you want to create
Right.
with an existing habit that's already ingrained in your routine.
Okay.
So, for example, if you already brush your teeth every morning,
Right. Everybody does that, hopefully.
hopefully, yes, good
Yeah.
point.
Right.
You could try doing like a quick 5-minute workout right after
Mm-hmm.
because brushing your teeth is already such an automatic habit.
Right.
It acts as a trigger
Okay.
to remind you to do that new workout habit.
That's such a smart way to kind of piggyback on those existing routines.
Yeah,
It takes the pressure off of having to remember or motivate yourself to do the new habits separately.
exactly. It's like sneaking it into your day
Yeah.
without even thinking about it.
I love it.
I've been doing this with stretching. I stack a few minutes of stretching with my morning coffee routine. Nice.
And it's amazing how much more flexible I feel throughout the day.
I love that it's those little tweaks that can make a big difference in the long run.
Totally. And the Mind Expedition podcast actually had another tip for those days when even habit stacking feels impossible.
Okay, what's that?
They called it the 5-minute rule,
All right.
and it has been surprisingly effective for me.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this 5-minute rule.
All right, so it's really simple on those days when you're feeling totally unmotivated to work out.
Yeah.
Just tell yourself you'll do it for 5 minutes. That's it.
Huh?
No pressure to do a full workout.
Okay.
Just 5 minutes of movement.
That seems almost too easy.
Right.
But I guess the idea is that once you get started,
Yeah.
you're more likely to keep going.
Exactly. It's like overcoming that initial inertia.
Oh, yeah, I get it.
And, more often than not, once I start moving, I end up doing a much longer workout
Mm-hmm.
than I initially planned.
Nice.
But even if I only do 5 minutes, it's still better than nothing.
And it helps me maintain that consistency.
That's a brilliant strategy.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try that next time I'm feeling resistant to working out.
Yeah.
It takes the pressure off and makes it feel much more manageable.
And I think the beauty of all these tips is that they emphasize making fitness enjoyable and sustainable,
Yeah,
not some rigid, punishing routine that you dread.
absolutely. It's
Yeah.
about finding what works for you, your lifestyle and your preferences.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to remember that fitness isn't just about physical health.
Mm-hmm.
It's about mental and emotional well-being too.
Absolutely. And the Mind Expedition podcast talk about this as well. They highlighted how exercise can be a powerful tool for reducing stress-boosting mood, improving sleep, and even enhancing cognitive function.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's amazing how much our physical and mental health are interconnected.
Totally.
When you take care of what the other benefits as well. It's like a positive feedback loop.
Totally. And I think that's a really motivating message for listeners. It's not just about fitting into a certain size or achieving some external goal. It's about taking care of your overall well-being and feeling your best from the inside out.
Beautifully said. And I think that segues perfectly into something else the podcast discussed.
Yeah.
The idea of reframing our relationship with exercise.
Okay. I'm all ears. What did they say about reframe? And so you were about to tell me how the Mind Expedition podcast talked about reframing our relationship with exercise.
Yeah, they were talking about how so many of us, we tend to view exercise as a means to an end.
Right.
Like it's a chore we have to do to lose weight or get toned or fit into a certain
Yeah.
outfit.
Yeah.
It becomes all about achieving some external goal.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. And it often makes exercise feel more like a punishment
Right.
than something enjoyable. Like I'm constantly trying to fix something about myself.
Exactly. But what if we shifted our focus from the outcome to the process?
Okay.
What if we paid more attention to how exercise makes us feel in the moment, rather than just what it might do for us in the long run?
That's interesting. So instead of thinking, I need to run 5 miles to burn off that dessert, I might think, I'm going for a run because it helps me de-stress and clear my head.
Precisely. You're focusing on the intrinsic rewards of the activity itself,
Okay.
rather than just the external results.
Yeah.
And that can make a huge difference in how you perceive and experience exercise.
It feels so much more empowering, too.
It is
Like
like-
I'm choosing to move my body because it feels good, not because I'm trying to punish myself for something.
Exactly. And when you approach exercise from that perspective, it's more likely to become a sustainable part of your life.
Right.
It stops being a chore and it becomes something you genuinely look forward to.
Yeah, I'm starting to see how powerful this reframing concept can be.
Yeah.
It's like shifting from a mindset of scarcity to a mindset of abundance.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
And it's not just about finding specific activities that you enjoy.
It's also about finding ways to incorporate more movement into your everyday life.
Right.
The Mind Expedition podcast called this sneaking in fitness.
Sneaking in fitness. I like that.
Yeah.
What are some examples of how you could do that?
Well, it could be simple things like taking the stairs instead of the elevator,
Right.
parking farther away from your destination so you have to walk a bit more,
Okay.
or even just getting up and stretching every hour if you have a desk job.
Those are great ideas, and they're so easy to implement.
Yeah.
It's not about having to carve out hours for a dedicated workout.
Right.
It's about making small, conscious choices throughout your day to move your body more.
Exactly. And all those little bits of movement, they add up over time.
Yeah.
Not only do they benefit your physical health, but they can also boost your energy levels and improve your mood.
So it's like a win-win for both our bodies and minds.
Absolutely. It's a great reminder that fitness doesn't have to be complicated or intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
It's about finding what works for you and your lifestyle.
And celebrating all forms of movement, no matter how small or unconventional they might seem.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful message to end our deep dive on. Fitness isn't about striving for some unattainable ideal.
Right.
It's about honoring our bodies, moving in ways that feel good, and making gradual progress over time.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this fitness deep dive.
Yeah, we have.
From busting myths to reframing our relationship with exercise. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on how to make movement a joyful and sustainable part of my life.
I feel the same way, and I hope our listeners do too. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration and inspiration.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into a topic that's sure to expand your mind and ignite your curiosity.